Alright, so what we're going to do in this video is essentially bring in a character from Mixamo. And here you could see a character that I'm working on for a personal project. It's for a pitch for a game studio. And so this is a character I made, a low poly. And what I did is I uploaded the character here, and then I went through the rigging process. So if you have a character, wouldn't mind, let me know and I'll make a video on how to rig it inside here. It's pretty easy. But with this character, of my own character, I can do things like add in animations that I could use for my game. So for example, if I want to use a walk cycle, I can add that. Now, in this video, we're going to be using one of the Mixamo characters. As you can see, here's a walk. I can do things like control arm spacing. I could have it walk in place, things like that. So you can see, which is kind of cool. So we can use this particular character for our game. But what I would like you guys to do is, if you don't have a character of your own, is to just go into here. And we've done this before in the previous class. And if you haven't done it in the or taken that course, it's completely okay. We're going to do it from scratch. But there's a host of really cool characters for you to pick from, right? Like you can use, I don't know, let's see, depending on the style of game. Like I'm a big fan of kids games, and I've used this guy in previous tutorials. So let's use this character. Let's see what we get. So here's this guy. He looks pretty cool, and we could use him for our cartoony zombie game. This guy's pretty cool. Let me turn off do not show this warning. So this guy's pretty cool. Trying to think of, and honestly, these are kind of like free to use, so you can, you know, like actually, I like this guy. I might use it. So you could paint over him if you have those skills, or modify the mesh. So once you have your character picked out, I'm gonna just type in T-pose here and then go to the animation section. And I just want to bring in the character in a T-pose. And I'm just going to hit the download button here and download this particular character to a specific folder on my desktop. So once you click on that download button, this download settings pops up here. And then we're going to go ahead and hit this download button and just save it wherever you want on your folder or whatever to be able to access it pretty easily. All right, so we're back in Unreal, and let's go ahead and inside of our TD or top-down folder, let's create a new folder here. Let's just call this models. And inside this models folder, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go import to current folder here. And you can see I have a folder here called models, and the FBX is called T-pose. I'm going to name this kid underscore T-pose. And I'm going to go ahead and hit open. Now for the import settings here, let's go through it. General, this looks pretty good. Source assets. We don't want to have any sort of offset. Static meshes, this looks good. Skeletal mesh, it says force all meshes as type. Now in order, what we want to do here is you can see under next here, force all meshes all type. We want to do a skeletal mesh here because there is a rig inside of that model. And auto detect mesh type, import bake meshes. Let's see, anything else in here that we might be missing. Animations, we don't have any that are going to be imported. Materials, make sure this is checked off. Textures, import textures, and let's go ahead and hit import. And now you can see we have a bunch of stuff, right? And it's starting to calculate, and then the things will pop in, right? So we have a physical asset, T-pose, animation. This is the one that we're interested in, kid T-pose skeleton. All right, so let's go ahead and double click the kid T-pose skeletal mesh. I had to refresh the project so that my character shifted a little bit, but let's go ahead and double click this to open this up. Now let's just kind of look at the interface. You can see I'm left clicking in here. I'm able to, with my left mouse button down, zoom in and out by moving the mouse in and out. If I move left and right, it will pan. If I select the hips here and I hit F to focus, you can see if I hold essentially the command key, I can rotate this. If I hold Alt or Option, I can actually rotate around this character like that. Over on the left-hand side, you can see all of these names. And if you're not very familiar with modeling or rigging, these are the bones. And the way that the bones essentially work is you have a mesh, which is the geometry of the character, and then you have these individual bones here. And the bones move that mesh. And when an animator is animating, they might have controllers which move the bones, or they might, in the old days, we used to key directly onto the bones. They do still do that sometimes now at some studios, but the bones are animated, and then from there we get our animation. So these bones are actually moving the mesh. So with that said, let's go ahead and import our first idle animation from Mixamo. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pause the video, and then let's actually go into here so that we can import this in and just prepare this for our mesh. So inside this model folder, I'm going to make a new folder here and just call it kid. And I'm going to highlight all of this stuff that makes up these materials, the textures. I'm just going to drop it in the kid folder. I'm going to select move here. And I'm going to hit save all just to lock all of that in place. And then in the kid folder, I'm going to create a new folder here. And I'm going to call this mesh. And then same as before, select all of these and just drop that in the mesh folder. And then next to that, I'm going to make a new folder here and just call that animations. And to be honest with you, because we're using the same rig across multiple characters, we really could just reuse the same animations, but this can get a little bit complicated again if you're not familiar with animations and all that good stuff. So inside of this animation folder, we're going to right click and then import to current folder our animation. Let's go, I'm going to pause the video, we'll jump over to Mixamo and we'll grab one of our animations. So here we are back in Mixamo, and what I'd like to do is just change this, type in idle under the animation tab and just hit enter and see what I get. Now you want to find something, maybe he's a, like whimsical kid like this, and that might be cool for the mood of our game. Obviously, if you have a friend who's an animator, it would be great to have, that person knock out some really cool animations for you. If we want to focus on our kid with the squirt gun, we could do something like this. And let's kind of like increase our character's arm spacing just a little bit. No, maybe that's too extreme, but let's take a look. And we could adjust the speed of our animation. If I slow it down like this, you can see it's much slower. If I take the overdrive up a lot, you can see he's moving a lot quicker. So it depends on the pace and the mood and the beat of how you want your game to be. So I'm going to keep it around 50% here. And I'm going to go ahead and just download this again to the same folder that I had before. And this is called idle, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. So now let's pop over to Unreal and go ahead and essentially set this up. All right, here we are back in Unreal. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to import to current folder, and I'm going to grab my idle. Now let's take a look at some of the setup settings here. If we start from the left, general is completely okay, and static meshes. So it says force all meshes of type. We're going to leave that open. Import LODs, bake meshes. So what we're interested in is under skeletal meshes here. You can see there's static, and we're going to select skeleton here. And what we want to do though is, let's see, where it says skeleton here, none. We want to actually select the kid T-pose skeleton here, so that we're actually saying that, hey, we're connecting this to kid T-pose, their skeleton there. And if you look under skeletal meshes here, see, we scroll, a little quick of a scroll that I have here. And so we're doing it that. And then under animations here, you could see there's our skeleton, right? Import only animations, there's our skeleton. And let's see, materials, textures, all. And I'm just going to go ahead and import here. And you can see here, here's our idle. And then if I double click this, this is our idle animation. And let me close this out. And if I go to Kid T-Pose here, and we click on our animation section here, you could see it has our T-Pose. If I double click that, that's our T-Pose. And then we have our idle animation that is connected to it. So let's go ahead and close this out. And we don't necessarily have to save this, but you can, it's the same thing with this. You can save all these out because, but it already connects it as long as you connect them that way. So here's our anims folder. And to be honest with you, I generally will kind of delete. If we go to, here's animations and here's the kid, right? And then we have the mesh, which is the kid T-pose here. And then we have the kid T-pose skeleton. What I'll do later on is I'll be like, well, I don't really need all these extra textures. I can just kind of force delete those. Sorry, let me. delete those, and then just kind of keep these around if I need them. And I know this tutorial is getting a little bit long, but I wanted to make sure that we at least got the characters set up in here. So I'm going to go to Mesh here, and I'm going to grab my kid T-pose here. Oh, not that, sorry. I want to go to my blueprints for this particular project. I'm going to grab my BP kid here, let it pop up, and then I want to go in here and edit this. And under Mesh here, what I want to do is, where it's a skeletal mesh asset, I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to select my essentially my kid T-pose here. And there he is. And what I can do is move him down so that he's essentially, let's see, kind of lined up right at the bottom there. And if I compile and save this, you can see here's our character. Let's go ahead and F to focus. We've got our character in the game. And it's pretty cool if you're making your own character. And you could see also that, like, as I press play, my player start position, I have my character here, right? I could see I'm like looking off to the left. So I have to sort of adjust that as well, right? So, um, you know, so what I can do here is you can see that my character is facing this direction coming out of Mixamo, and my arrow is pointing that direction. So as we rotate this out, you can see if I rotate this minus 90 and I compile and save this, and then let's get this guy out of here too, because when we press play, we can see him in our project. Well, I guess you can't. I'm actually inside of the character. So let's try that one more time. I'm going to press play. I'm going to eject and just zoom out. And you can see the character is loaded in the game. And he is facing the correct direction. Let's hit F to focus again on him. There he is. So pretty cool. We learned how to set up a character. We did all this really cool stuff. I'm going to make sure that I save all. And yeah, we'll continue to work on this in the next lecture.